everyone. My name is Ann Ellis, and I'm the Children, Youth, and Family Minister at Mount Seymour United Church in North Vancouver. And I'd like to welcome you to our video for the week of October 4th, 2020. This week we're going to be talking about the Tree of Life, and for our activity later on, towards the end of the video, you're going to need some supplies. So I'm going to tell you about those now, and you can pause this video and go and gather them, and then come on back. So this week you will need some paper, some white paper or colored paper. It doesn't really matter, whatever you like and whatever you have at home. You're also going to want something that you can draw with, a pencil or some pencil crayons or a marker. And you will also want to grab some crayons in whatever colors you like. And then you're going to want to go outside and find yourselves some leaves. So I have, for example, some laurel leaves. I have a little bit of fern. I have some cedar. And I actually have a blackberry leaf from some blackberry bushes in my garden. So you want to get some leaves and bring them back. And you're going to need those for our activity later on. So if you want to go and grab those things, pause this video now and go grab them, and then come on back and we'll get started. So let's just take a few moments to settle and relax a little bit. Some deep breaths to prepare our hearts and our minds for welcoming in God and welcoming in the light. As is our usual practice at Mount Seymour United Church, we welcome people with a welcome that is as broad and as deep as we can make it. We welcome you no matter how old or how young you may be. We welcome you no matter your marital status, your financial situation, your cultural or heritage background. You are welcome here. You are welcome here no matter your sexual orientation, your gender identity, or your gender expression. You are welcome in this place. You are welcome if you consider yourself to be a Christian or if you are a part of another faith tradition. And we welcome all who seek the ideals of justice, compassion, and peace, and especially those who are curious. Mount Seymour United Church is located on the unceded and ancestral territories of the Coast Salish people, namely the Tsleil-Waututh and the Squamish. And we are so grateful to be able to work and live and play in this beautiful, beautiful land that they are sharing with us. We are also located in Seymour watershed, and it is from this watershed that all life exists in this area. Without the water, we would have no trees, and we would have no animals, and no birds, and no plants, and no flowers, and certainly no people. And so again, we express our gratitude to the watershed that gives us life. At Mount Seymour, we also take time to remember a person who did such amazing things and shared such wonderful stories that people just had to follow him. And once, when they asked him who he was, he said, "I am a light in this world." And he also said, "You, my beloveds, are lights in this world. A city on a hilltop cannot be hidden. Similarly, it would be silly to light a lamp and put it under a bowl. No, instead, when a person lights a lamp or a candle, they put it on a table or a desk so that the light can illumine the entire room. You are like that illuminating light. let your light shine everywhere you go, so that when people see you, they can see your good works through that illuminating light that shines in each one of us. That's a passage from the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verses 14 to 16. In the email that came out to your families earlier this week, there is a new coloring sheet, and it is a coloring sheet of the tree of life. If you didn't get this email, if you came by this video from another route, the link to sign up for our emails is in the description. We would welcome your subscription, and we'll keep you updated and in touch with the activities that happen at Mount Seymour for our children and our youth. In this Tree of Life mandala coloring sheet, around the tree is written some Hebrew words, and these Hebrew words are from the Psalms, from Psalm 1, verses 3, and they say, "They are like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither, and whatever they do prospers." The they in this psalm are the people of God, and the people who listen to God and try to live good lives. They are referred to as a tree that bears fruit, as a tree with leaves that don't wither, and that everything they do will prosper. And I think that's a beautiful image. So take a moment and imagine being a tree like that. Get yourself comfy in your chair or sitting on the floor or wherever you are, and pretend that your feet, that your toes are growing roots, digging deep into the ground. They spread out and find the cool water. Imagine that cool water slurping up through your roots and up into your toes and your feet, and then in through your legs. Your roots are what hold you firm and grounded. You can relax knowing that your roots will hold you steady at all times. Now imagine your arms growing out and up like the branches of the tree. They reach for the sky. Imagine the warm sunshine on your leaves. Do you have big leaves like a broad-leafed maple, or do you have needles like a pine tree or a cedar? Will your leaves change color this fall, or will they stay green all year round? Imagine the warm sun. Imagine the breeze and the wind rustling through your branches. Are you the kind of tree that a bird would nest in? Do you bear fruit like apples or lemons or apricots? Do you have cones like a pine cone or a fir cone? Do you have berries like a juniper or a holly? Your branches that reach up high into the sky connect you to God and God's creation, where you are loved and nurtured as a most important part of creation. When I imagine myself as a tree, I am a big oak tree on a hilltop, and my roots dig down and my branches reach up, and there's all this shade for people to sit under the tree and relax and look out over the valley and see beautiful, beautiful things. That's my tree. I wonder what kind of tree you are, and what kind of tree makes you feel loved and safe and comfortable. You can share that with me in an email or in the comments below if you want. I'd love to hear about what kind of tree you are. Last week, I was doing some gardening in my yard, and I found a cedar sapling growing in one of the most peculiar places. It was growing along a crack between the curb and the sidewalk, right near where the drain on our street is. And it reminded me a little bit of the parable of the sower, which was our video from last week, where there were seeds that grew in difficult places. And in that story, the difficult places were not good. They withered, they were choked out, they didn't survive. And yet somehow this cedar seedling was surviving, growing in a crack in cement. And I decided that a crack in the street wasn't a very good place for a cedar tree to be growing. And so I transplanted it into this pot. And now I have it here with us. One day I'll transplant it into the yard or into the woods where it will grow into a big, huge, beautiful tree like the cedars that are all around us in North Vancouver and in Vancouver. I consider this our tree of life, and I know that it will remind us of how we are rooted in our faith and branching out into God's love. A couple of weeks ago, we did an activity in one of our videos where we traced our hands and we made a tree. And I remember we traced our hands like this, and then we colored them like this, or if we had paint, we had a ball of tinfoil that we rolled around in the paint, and we made leaves in our trees. And then I invited you to take your tree and to turn it upside down and see that it could also be the roots of a trunk and growing up into a tree, and all of the life down in the ground that feeds the roots of the tree. And today we're going to kind of add to this tree in a different way. So again, you want to get your paper, whatever paper you have, some white paper, some colored paper. You'll want something that you can draw with. I have here my Church Geek pencil from PMR First Third. A little shout out to the good people at Pacific Mountain Region and their very cool Church Geek pencils. Hello. You'll also want to get some crayons. If you have pastels, like chalk pastels or oil pastels, those would work too. And pencil crayons and markers might work, but crayons or pastels are definitely the best that you want to get. And then you want to get some leaves from outside. So I've got a blackberry leaf, I've got some leaves from a laurel, I've got some cedar, and I have a little bit of fern. We're going to use those to make our tree of life. So again, when we did the tree before, in our last video, we took our hand and we placed our hand on the paper and we traced it. And I'm going to trace it. It's hard, really awkward for me to do that while holding this up. So I'm not going to do that. So you like trace it out like this. And then what you're going to do, this is the fun part, is take your paper and that you traced your hand on, you can kind of just barely see in the video, and you're going to pick your leaves, a leaf, and place it underneath your hand. Maybe somewhere, like if these were branches where a leaf might grow. And then you're going to take one of your crayons, and you can choose whatever color you like. I did some tests earlier, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and I found that the darker colors of crayons worked a lot better than the lighter colors. And then if you kind of hold the crayon sideways a little bit and start to color very gently, you start to get the outline of your leaf. Which looks pretty cool. You can see here. I've got a great leaf going. And then you can take the same leaf and you could move it a little bit so that it's in a different part of your drawing. And you could pick a different color of crayon if you wanted. And here's another leaf on our tree. And then you can pick different leaves and color more leaves, and you can see the green is a little lighter, it's a little harder to see, it doesn't work out quite so well. I found for my own coloring that the blackberry and the laurel worked the best for showing up as leaves. So here's one that I did earlier, and that's my blackberry leaf there, and then these are a bunch of laurels, and then there's a blackberry here with green and yellow, and it's a little harder to see, but they're there. When I did the cedar, that's the cedar down there, and then that's my fern up there. It was a little trickier to see. So it's really good to experiment with different leaves, and you might have different leaves in your garden that will look really good as leaves on your tree of life. And then the cool thing is if you still have your drawing from a couple videos ago, then you can take your painting that was a tree, but we turned it around and looked at it as being roots. And then you can take your tree that you did today, put them together. And you have this like totally cool tree of life. Well, maybe you noticed when we were filming at the church that our seed of hope was missing from the video, and that's because the seed of hope is living at home. I'm reluctant to move it too far these days. It's getting taller and taller, and it's a little bit fragile. So I'm trying to keep good care of it, and so I'm keeping it at home. So we're finishing the video for today here at my house. And you can see that our bean has grown some beautiful heart-shaped leaves, and it is very carefully curling up this pole, and it's almost got some new leaves open. So we're going to keep an eye on that and see how it goes in the coming weeks. So we're going to close our time today with our Seed of Hope prayer, which we have been doing for the last few weeks. It's been getting longer and longer, or perhaps I should say it's growing taller and taller as we add lines to it. So again, this is an action prayer, so you're going to want to have your hands ready, and it is a repeat after me prayer. So you are going to, I will say a line and then I'll say it again, and you can follow along doing the actions. So here we go. This is the seed of hope that we plant in the soil. This is the seed of hope that we plant in the soil. This is the rain. This is the rain that waters the seed that we plant in the soil. That waters the seed that we plant in the soil. This is the sunshine that follows the rain. This is the sunshine that follows the rain, that waters the seed that we plant in the soil. That waters the seed that we plant in the soil. This is the root that digs deep in the ground. This is the root that digs deep in the ground, that feeds the seed we plant in the soil, that feeds the seed that we plant in the soil. This is the plant that grows up towards the sun. This is the plant that grows up towards the sun, that shines on the seed that we plant in the soil, that shines on the seed that we plant in the soil. These are the branches that embrace God's love. These are the branches that embrace God's love. This is the seed of hope. Amen. This is the seed of hope. Amen. Thank you so much for being with me today and our video on the Tree of Life. I hope that you have enjoyed today's video and do the activities. And if you want to share pictures of your Tree of Life or the mandala that we sent out in the email, I would love to see how you've colored them and how you've decorated them. And I look forward to seeing you next week on Thanksgiving, which is pretty great. Bye.